Friends, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making a caprese. Now you may also have heard this being called a caprese salad. So what this is traditionally made of is you have mozzarella cheese and you have tomato, maybe you have some fresh basil. I like to use a little balsamic strategically, but we're gonna get into that today. So grab your tomatoes, let's do this. Okay friends, so I have all different kinds of tomatoes with me today. Over the weekend, I was doing a video with another Italian recipe, so I have a ton of tomatoes and it's tomato season, and so it's a perfect time to kind of try out different tomatoes that you may not have tried before. Now I have these beautiful, look at these beautiful, I think these are heirloom cherry tomatoes, I'm not positive, but they're this beautiful crimson color. I also have grape tomatoes and huge heirloom tomatoes, and I've cut two of these to show you how big they are and how beautiful they are. Now what we're going to do to make a caprese, now traditionally you may have seen a caprese with a big ball of buffalo mozzarella, and they will slice it and they will put in between the slices of tomato slices of mozzarella, and then they'll top it with like a drizzle of olive oil, maybe a little salt and pepper, and that's it. Here's the thing. It's tomato season. Like, we got to get while the getting's good, okay? So we have to enjoy our tomatoes while we have them now. In the past, I've made a caprese using cherry tomatoes and using something like this. My husband likes this, where it's little mozzarella balls. The mozzarella is already marinated in Italian spices. So my husband likes that one. That's one that we usually get. And it's really convenient to do to have these little balls, and like I said, you just cut them in half and then you cut one of these in half. Well, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put all of these beautiful cherry tomatoes right in the freezer. So I'm going to get out a gallon Ziploc bag and I'm going to put the grape and the cherry tomatoes in the freezer. What you can do is don't even cut them up, put them in the freezer, and then especially in times where you don't have tomatoes, like think like fall, winter, spring, when you aren't harvesting your tomatoes, you're able to enjoy them and just pop them right into your pan frozen. So that's what I'm doing with those tomatoes. I'm going to be using these big heirloom tomatoes to make a caprese. I have this basil I bought from the store. Something you should know is maybe cut off the bottom stems. You really don't need to cut them off unless they're kind of gross. And put it in a jar, okay? If I were to take this and put it right in the fridge, it would probably be wilty by now. But we're gonna treat it just like a bouquet. We're gonna leave it in the jar until we're ready to use it. I don't know that I would leave this basil for another day or two. You can chop it all up. You can put it in the fridge for a couple days. And by the way, if you decide that you're not going to use it right away, what I would do is take an ice cube tray and put that chopped basil in the little ice cube containers, and then add some water or olive oil, and then you're ready for, oh, and freeze it, right? And I skipped that part. You're going to freeze it, and then you're going to be ready for whatever recipe you're going to need fresh basil for. So I already have my tomatoes chopped. I'm going to chop my mozzarella, and I'm just going to strategically kind of put it in between the tomatoes. I'm going to chop up some basil, and this is, I think, where most people fail when it comes to caprese. I think tomatoes taste best when you add some salt. So don't be afraid to salt them. Yes, there is salt with the mozzarella. Don't get all weird on me about how it's going to increase your blood pressure or whatever. You know, act like a responsible adult. If you're not worried about that, salt your tomatoes because it brings out a depth of flavor that frequently is not found with just like a regular sliced tomato. So I'll salt my tomatoes really well. We're going to drizzle with olive oil, and if you have balsamic vinegar, that's awesome. But I'm also going to share with you, I found this product, and I think I found it at Whole Foods, and it's called Non Appies, and it's a balsamic glaze, but essentially it's a really concentrated balsamic glaze. You can just drizzle that right on top of your caprese, and boom, you have an amazing appetizer. Also, we're talking about summertime right now. Maybe you don't want to be in the kitchen cooking a whole lot. So this is something that's a yummy dinner to have. As we are in a time of, impending food shortages and things like that, see what you can get at the store. And guess what? It's not a big tragedy if you can't find a huge ball of buffalo mozzarella and you need the sliced kind from Costco. This is not a tragedy. Nobody died. We're going to make it fantastic anyway. So that's pretty much it. Like, this is a super simple recipe. Like I said, perfect for summer. But when you tell your guests they are going to come over for a glass of wine, that, oh, well, I'll have a Caprese. I mean, like, does that sound fancy? Yes, it does. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, friends, the trick to a really great Caprese is fresh, wonderful ingredients. So you're going to want to go to your farmer's market or even grow your own tomatoes if this is something that you absolutely love. You see how I have heirloom tomatoes? Those are yellow pineapple heirloom tomatoes. They're amazing. And we're just going to slice the mozzarella and slice the tomato, and that's pretty much it. But here's the key to this whole operation: fresh ingredients, and I think that there is a depth of flavor that comes into play here when we appropriately salt our tomatoes. Now, if you have salt issues, you do you, boo. But I think that if you salt the tomatoes almost like you're going to salt them too much, that it really brings a great flavor to the tomato. So was not smart here. I was going to arrange this all pretty. And then I realized, hello, the tomato's the star of the show, and I'm going to put all the spices on the cheese. No, I should do that the other way around. So here's what I did instead. You could see I put the cheese on the bottom, the tomato on the top. We're adding a little bit of our Italian spice. We're going to do a little bit of olive oil. We're going to do salt. Like I said, some of you are going to tell me it's too much salt. Okay, whatever. And then we're going to add our balsamic glaze. I'll talk about that in just a second. And here's something about olive oil. Olive oil is so great for your skin. So some of you are going to think I'm a giant weirdo, but see how I have some extra olive oil left on my hands? I just rub it into my skin because I know some people who that olive oil is their moisturizer and they have amazing skin. So that's what I do. So we're going to be doing salt. Use a good quality salt. You can use Himalayan. I also really like red mineral salt. Again, you're probably going to go, Victoria, this is too much. No, friends, it is just enough. So we have our salt. We have our Italian spices. You can use fresh basil here to finish it. I love this product called Nonna Pia's Balsamic Glaze. There it is. Boom. Go get it. So you can get a balsamic glaze similar to this on Thrive Market, and I'll put my link for that below. And as you can see, I'm sort of getting to the bottom of the bottle here, but it's this really concentrated balsamic glaze. And again, it's super concentrated depth of flavor. You can make this as pretty as you want. I mean, this is for my family and they really don't care how pretty it is. So there you go. You can finish it with fresh basil if you have it. If you don't, you can serve it just like this, or you can add some dried basil. But this is a Caprese. Doesn't this look lovely? Something like you would have with some wine with a friend. Look at this beautiful Caprese. And you can see that you have your mozzarella right underneath. I kind of figured this trick out about how I like to do the tomatoes on top because I really think that tomatoes need to be salted. And you could see that there's a little bit of Italian spices. Nothing too crazy. I love the Nonna Pia's, so grab some of that at your local grocery store. You can see that this is just so simple, so easy. Now, can you imagine a friend coming over, you go into a friend's house and they having this out, and you can enjoy a glass of vino with some of your Caprese and some good time chatting with a friend. Doesn't that look lovely? All right, friends, eat well, take care.